all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 48. You annoying freak. Every time I touch you, I feel sick from the bottom of my heart. Whitney gently flicked the chain in her hand and stared up at Clark Kent, with a gloomy expression on his face. It's okay if the ghost doesn't disperse. I didn't expect you to be Lana's old acquaintance. Your dirty hands touched her today. I'm very angry, and I always feel that I have to teach you a lesson, so that you know that you are a freak who should stay away from her. Whitney kept turning to Clark as she spoke. Kent is close, yet he didn't notice. Clark Kent's hand is constantly tightening. Chapter 54. Clark's counterattack. Whitney, who fled from the desert. You guy, Clark. When Kent saw Whitney appear, he had already realized that the other party was not good. After all, when he was still in high school, the latter would find various reasons to trouble him. Of course, Clark Kent usually doesn't bother. I just thought that after graduation, I wouldn't see him again. I didn't expect that after changing cities and schools, I still met each other. And I met it on the first day of school. On the lenses in front of him, Whitney's gloomy and domineering face is reflected. Clark Kent remembered his intimate appearance with Lana in the morning, and a haze flashed under his eyes. Why don't you talk? Whitney looked at Clark. Kent didn't say a word, and suddenly became more and more proud, raised his hand and put the iron chain in his hand on his shoulder. HMPH, forget it, for the sake of my high school classmates. I don't want to make things too ugly. Quote, as long as you promise me to stay away from Lana in the future, I will let you go. Clark Kent was still silent, but the 5 fingers hanging at his side moved slightly. I hope you can understand something and quickly apologize for your previous behavior. Seeing this, Whitney became more and more impatient, and warned again, while sweeping his gaze towards Chen Tian, otherwise, not only you, but also your friends will suffer together. Quote, when Chen Tian heard this, he didn't care about his words that he dared to hit himself. After all, neither Whitney himself nor everyone who came with him was Chen Tian's first-hand enemy. It's as if a properly developed adult doesn't take the hostility and threats of a 3-year-old child to heart at all, and even if he hears it, he will only feel ridiculous. No matter how these clown-like characters jump in front of him, they don't deserve to be put in his eyes. Not to mention the mood swings that affected Chen Tian. Chen Tian at this moment just wanted to see Clark in this period. Kent, how would he respond to today's situation? It's just a pity for Clark, who was silent for a long time. Kent's eyes narrowed, and his fingers, which had been slightly bent, suddenly relaxed. I'm not in the mood to bother with that. Having said this, he skimmed straight past Whitney and headed for the apartment building. Shit, what do you mean? Stop for me, you freak. Seeing that he was ignored, Whitney wrinkled his brows, and with some annoyance, he directly flicked the chain and slammed it towards Clark Kent's broad back. Syllable. The chain breaks through the air and is menacing. Which thinks Clark Kent reacted extremely quickly, and without turning his head, he just raised his hand, and directly connected the other end of the chain into his hand. Damn it. Whitney's face froze when he saw this, but raw was how he pulled back with 250, and after the iron chain was straightened, it was difficult to shake half a point. He felt that it was not Clark on the other end of the chain. Kent, but connected to a mountain made of steel, is not at all pulled by its own manpower. Even Whitney had exerted all his strength, but only Clark Kent's hand gripping the chain never wavered in the slightest. You freak, let me go. Seeing this, Whitney inexplicably felt a pang of fear in his heart, and he remembered that the guy on the other side was called a freak because of his amazing strength. It's just that in the face of mockery, Clark Kent will only choose to escape, which will make people like to bully him more and more. This feeling that the strong will not fight back if you are oppressed, makes people have the illusion that they are the strong. Whitney was also one of the members paralyzed by this feeling. So see Clark today, Kent, but also crossed paths with his girlfriend. Without hesitation, he brought someone over, intending to repeat what he had done before. Both for warning and for experiencing that pleasure again. But where did he think that the situation would become like this now? For a while, Whitney had a feeling that riding a tiger was difficult. I won't take the initiative to provoke anyone, and I hope no one will provoke me. Lana and I met earlier, and it's not your turn to dictate. Clark Kent turned around indifferently and spoke coldly. Actually began to fight back? Chen Tian, who was standing next to him, watched this scene, raised his eyebrows, and his eyes revealed surprise. It seems that Clark Kent seems to have a bonus when facing a love rival, but he also discovers. The prompt tone of the copy ability just now did not sound. That is, Clark, all of Kent's shots are just basic operations, and they don't reach the scope of ability at all. However, Chen Tian also felt normal when he thought about it. A person full of muscles, even if he did not have superpowers, his strength would not be bad. Then, Whitney, I remember before you came and said that this guy is a soft bastard who can't lift his head. Why can't you even get a nerd now? Whitney's friend next to him watched the scene playfully, frowning. These words fell into Whitney's ears, and all the slight fears in his heart were immediately ignited into anger. Fuck, just watch how I get him. He cursed, let go of the chain, and backhanded a baseball bat from his friend's hand. Hoo-hoo, and one by one the baseball bat broke through the air. Whitney gritted his teeth and made a fierce face, using enough strength. I didn't expect it. Bang! It looks like Sven is wearing glasses on Clark Kent casually threw away the chain, raised the other hand, and once again firmly caught this blow. Next second, he exerted his 5 fingers and suddenly restricted. Bang! The baseball bat he held in his hand directly cracked and exploded, turning into wood chips and scattering everywhere. Boo-toot. One by one, Whitney and his friends all swallowed a mouthful of spit in unison when they saw this scene. Their eyes stiffened, and their eyes were full of shock. If they hadn't all known it was a baseball bat made of solid hardwood. Definitely, thought Clark. What Kent pinched was nothing more than a dead branch that had decayed for years and shattered at the touch of a touch. On the side, Chen Tian's mind finally sounded a cold prompt that made him smile slightly. Combat detected. Drop reward. Superpower. Superman. Meanwhile, get away. Don't let me see you again. Clark. Kent stood in the doorway of the apartment building, warning Whitney with a grim expression. Whitney, I don't think we need to fight with this freak. The gain is not worth the loss. I still think of important things to deal with. Let's go first. Seeing this, several companions with Whitney directly chose to back and walked away in ashes. After all, no matter how you say it, these people are just 19 or 20-year-old young people, and they are domineering on weekdays, and they really encounter hard stubble. Damn it, Clark. I tell you, today's business will not end like this. Actually, Whitney was at Clark. When Kent pinched the baseball bat, he had already quietly retreated unconsciously. Noticing that his companions had run away, he immediately retreated. However, after running to the car, he still gave a hard warning. Then he drove without stopping and fled with his companions. Clark. Kent had been ignoring the taillights of several cars and disappeared at the end of the street, and the expression on his face slowly relaxed. Good job just now. Chen Tian next to him saw Clark. Kent finally began to change, plus gained ability, was in a visibly good mood, smiled and praised. Like you said, people always have to change. First chapter